Hello and assalamu alaikum. This is me with marker. So in this video series we are going to study about the mechanics. Before starting the mechanics I must tell you the definition of the mechanics. Mechanics is the branch of physics which basically deals with the kinematics and dynamics. If I'll explain you the kinematics is basically the study of motion without the force or without the reference of force. And this we are going to only study about the motion itself, like for example the movement of an object, how far that object has displaced, how much speed does that object have, what is the velocity of that object. And then we have the dynamics. In the dynamics basically we study about the motion but with force. If an object is in motion, why is it in motion, what kind of force has been applied over there. So that will be dealt into dynamics. So basically in mechanics we are going to study about kinematics and dynamics, the motion without the force and motion with the force. Before understanding the whole concept of kinematics and dynamics, we must need to go through the physical quantities first. Now the physical quantities are basically those quantities which can be measured. If a quantity has magnitude and a unit, that quantity can be measured. Now let me explain you what basically is the magnitude. Magnitude is basically the size of an object. That size could be 7, 8, 9. Now by giving any number just like 7, 8, 9, we cannot define that quantity completely. To completely define that quantity or give an identity to these magnitudes, we must give them a particular unit. For example, we have 7 over there. Nobody knows what does this 7 shows over there. If I put down a meter down here, now we know we are talking about what? 7 meters. We are talking about length. Let's say we have 8 over there and I put down the unit second. At first, if there was no second, we did not know what were we talking about. Now I put down the second, it is 8 seconds. Now we know we are talking about time. And now we have 9 over there. And there is no unit with the 9. And again, we are in a void without a unit. If a magnitude doesn't have a unit, we will completely be in a void. If I put down meters per second down over there, now we know we are talking about speed. So what happens? A physical quantity is basically that quantity which can be measured. Now you can name hundreds of quantities which you can measure, like the length of this marker, or the mass of this marker, or how much weight does this marker has. These all things are measurable, and these all things are called physical quantities. Yes, if I'll talk about someone's emotions, let's say there's a student in the class who is angry. Is there anything in this whole world which can measure his anger? No, there's nothing. It means the anger or any emotion is basically not a physical quantity. So simply physical quantities are those quantities which can be measured. If I'll give you a simplest definition of a physics, the simplest definition of a physics would be the physics is the study of those things which can be measured. By measuring anything, we basically understand its nature. So physics is the study of nature. Now, there is another thing. Leaving magnitude and unit aside, a few physical quantities has, that is basically direction. Direction basically is an optional statement. There are a few quantities which has direction and there are a few quantities which doesn't have direction. Now that is where we can categorize the physical quantities. We can categorize into two parts. The first part is the one which has direction and the other part is the one which doesn't has direction. So now this is the categorization of physical quantities. Now physical quantity I have already told you can be categorized into two parts. So basically those two parts are what? Physical quantity with no direction and physical quantities with direction. Now the physical quantity with no direction, which is just magnitude and the unit, are called these scalar quantities. Now physical quantity which has magnitude, unit, and alongside magnitude and unit it also has direction, are called vector quantities. Now, how do we define a scalar quantity? For example, I have this marker and it has some certain mass. Let's say its mass is 10 grams. Does this mass can be influenced by its direction? No, it doesn't. If I put down it over there, it's still 10 grams. If I keep it over here, it's still 10 grams. If I keep on changing its direction, it will remain 10 grams. It means its direction will not affect. Yes, if I talk about the displacement of the marker, for example, my marker was first at this point, and I moved it over here. So this is basically this displacement between these 2 points. Then I keep it over there, the displacement changes. So by changing the direction, displacement changes. It means displacement is a quantity which can be influenced by its direction. So it is depending upon its direction. So that quantity is called a vector quantity. So now physical quantities are basically those quantities which can be measured. Now with the measurement we can have three things. We can measure a thing by three things: a unit, magnitude, and a direction. Where direction is optional. So there are a few quantities which has no direction. Those are called scalar quantities, and there are a few quantities which has direction, which are called vector quantities. Thank you for watching this video. From the next lecture, we are going to discuss the vectors.